The evening felt still, almost too calm, the kind of silence that hums beneath your skin. I was curled up on the couch, my phone glowing against the soft light of the living room. Jason had told me earlier about his small birthday surprise at work, and I'd smiled like a fool, even sending cupcakes with him that morning. Dinner plates were still on the table, cold and half empty. The air smelled faintly of garlic and the cheap wine we'd shared. Everything looked normal, painfully normal. I scrolled through my feed absent-mindedly until Sophie's post caught my eye. Happy birthday to one of the funniest guys in the office. My lips curled into a small smile. That was Jason, always the charmer. I tapped play, expecting a harmless clip, maybe a laugh, a toast, something innocent. The video started with people singing, out of tune, around a cake. I could almost hear Jason's laugh before I saw him. Then it happened. Lydia, the colleague he'd always brushed off, leaned in close, her hand on his shoulder. She whispered something I couldn't hear, and then she kissed him, on the lips. Everyone laughed like it was a joke. But my world didn't. My chest went tight, my smile vanished, and for a second I swear the room tilted. The sound of that laughter burned straight through me. For a moment, I just stared at the screen, frozen. My brain tried to make excuses faster than my heart could break. Maybe it was a joke. Maybe it was staged. But then I saw his face. That easy grin he always gave me when he wanted to downplay something. The same one he used when I once asked about late meetings. My breath caught somewhere between my throat and my chest. The phone felt heavier in my hand, like guilt had a weight I could finally measure. I scrolled to the comments, hoping to find something, anything, that would make it less cruel. Sophie had written, "Best office birthday ever." And there he was, my husband, replying, "Thanks for making it special." That stupid wink felt like a knife twisting slowly. My fingers trembled, but I didn't drop the phone. I couldn't. I just stared at those emojis, those tiny glowing symbols of everything I didn't know. He told me there wasn't a video, said it was nothing, just a cake and a few coworkers. No laughter, no party, no kiss. I whispered the words before I even realized. What was that? My voice cracked in the quiet room. Anger started to bloom beneath my ribs, sharp, controlled, and terrifyingly calm. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just sat there thinking, if that was his little surprise, he hadn't seen mine yet. I don't know how long I sat there staring at that frozen image, Lydia's lips still pressed against his, everyone laughing in the background. The hum of the refrigerator was suddenly too loud, too steady, like it was mocking me with its calm. My heart pounded against my ribs, but my mind felt sharper than it had in months. Every second of that clip etched itself into me, the way his hand rested on her waist, the tiny smile after the kiss, the comfort of it all. I replayed it, once, twice, maybe 10 times, not because I wanted to, but because I had to understand. The lies, the timing, the details. I studied it like evidence, not heartbreak. My eyes burned, but I refused to blink. If he thought that video would fade into the scroll of social media, he was wrong. It wasn't just a kiss, it was a confession he never meant to make, and I'd make sure it wouldn't disappear so easily. By the time the video ended for the last time, I wasn't shaking anymore. I was steady, cold, a kind of calm I'd never known before, the kind that comes right before a storm. I saved the video, locked my phone, and leaned back into the couch. My reflection stared at me from the black screen, unrecognizable but alive. He thought he'd celebrated his birthday at the office. He didn't know the real party had just begun. When Jason walked through the door that night, humming to himself, I'd already practiced my face in the mirror. Calm, soft, almost loving, the kind of expression that hides fire behind glass. He smelled like cologne and laughter, the same combination from that video. In his hand, a little gift bag, wrapped in gold paper. "From a coworker," he said with a grin. I smiled back, but my voice was low, almost sweet. "How was your birthday surprise?" He laughed, completely at ease, and started rambling about cake, jokes, and office banter. The same old lines, every word scraped against the truth I'd already seen. I nodded like I was listening, though my mind replayed that kiss in slow motion. When he said Lydia's name, it was casual, almost careless. "She helped with the cake," he said. I tilted my head slightly and asked, Did she enjoy it too? He blinked, once, twice, like he'd just heard thunder on a sunny day. I could see it then, the hesitation, the tiny fracture in his perfect act. Yeah, I guess, he muttered. I leaned against the counter, crossing my arms. She seemed to enjoy you more. The silence that followed could have cut glass. His grin faltered, the air thickened. He looked at me, trying to measure how much I knew. But it didn't matter. The game had already begun, and this time, I wasn't the one playing blind. He tried to laugh it off, but it came out thin, a nervous chuckle that barely held together. What's that supposed to mean? He asked, pretending confusion. I didn't answer right away. Instead, I handed him my phone, the video already open. It means you should probably tell me why your colleague kissed you in front of everyone. His face drained of color. For the first time in years, he didn't have a script ready. Just silence. Heavy, guilty silence. Elena, it wasn't serious, he stammered. She was joking. It was a dare. A dare. That was the word he chose. I almost laughed. I watched him search my face for mercy he hadn't earned. It didn't mean anything, he insisted, his voice cracking around the lie. You keep saying that about everything lately, I said softly, almost to myself. His eyes flickered, realizing I wasn't just talking about this moment, I was talking about us. The space between us felt colder than ever. I could hear the tick of the wall clock, slow and cruel. Tell me, Jason, I said, stepping closer. How many meaningless things have you done with her? He opened his mouth, then closed it again. No words, just guilt sitting heavy in his eyes. That's when I knew I didn't need a confession. I'd already seen the truth. I turned away, voice calm, steady, and final. You gave her your lips. I'll make sure she gives up everything else. He stood there speechless, holding my phone like it might burn him. His lips parted, but no words came out, just that pathetic half-breath of someone caught with no story left to tell. For years, I'd memorized every look on his face, every tone of his voice. But this one was new. It wasn't regret. It was fear. The fear of being seen for who he really was. I almost pitied him. Almost. I walked past him, the floor creaking under my steps. My hands were shaking, but not from sadness anymore. I felt something else take over. Focus, like every piece of me was rearranging into someone stronger, sharper, less naive. Behind me, he called my name once, softly. I didn't turn around. Good night, Jason, was all I said, though it sounded a lot like goodbye. In the bathroom mirror, my reflection stared back, pale, calm, alive in a way I hadn't felt for years. The anger didn't swallow me whole. It refined me. The kind of fury that doesn't scream, it plans. I wiped away my mascara, smiled faintly, and whispered, You really shouldn't have lied about that video. Because if there's one thing I've learned about betrayal, it's this. The truth might hurt, but revenge heals in ways tears never could. The next morning, I woke up before the sun, the house unnervingly peaceful. Jason was still asleep beside me, his breathing steady, almost innocent. I watched him for a moment, not with love, but with distance. How strange that I'd shared years with someone I suddenly felt I didn't know at all. I slipped out of bed, careful not to wake him, and poured myself a cup of coffee. It tasted bitter, but that somehow felt right. I needed answers, not apologies. That's when I thought of Sophie. She worked in the same building, always friendly, always posting about office life. I dialed her number, rehearsing the tone I'd use, light, casual, curious. When she picked up, I smiled into the phone. That video you posted, it was funny, I said, my voice steady. So spontaneous, right? I could hear the hesitation before she replied, a pause filled with truth she didn't want to share. Yeah. Actually, Lydia planned it, she said carefully. She decorated Jason's desk, brought the cake, the whole thing. My hand tightened around the mug, the ceramic warm against my skin. Lydia. Of course. The same woman Jason swore was just a colleague, the same woman who was married. I kept my tone calm, polite, even cheerful. Oh, that's sweet of her, I said. She must really like making people feel special. When I hung up, I didn't breathe right away. The silence after Sophie's words felt louder than anything. My mind began mapping timelines, connecting dots I hadn't wanted to see before. The late meetings, the sudden new wardrobe, the perfume that wasn't mine on his collar once. Every little thing that I'd brushed off because I trusted him, it all lined up now, painfully neat. Betrayal doesn't hide. It decorates itself in coincidences until you finally notice the pattern. I sat at the kitchen table, phone in hand, staring at our old messages. He'd deleted a lot. That alone told me enough. But I wasn't done guessing. I downloaded a recovery app, something I never imagined I'd need, and let it pull everything from the digital grave he thought he'd buried. Message by message, the truth resurrected itself. Late-night jokes, hidden meetups, the kind of words you only send when you've crossed every line. I didn't cry. Not this time. I just felt quiet. That sharp kind of calm that comes with confirmation. The lies were finally naked, and I didn't even flinch. My heart didn't break again. It adjusted. I took screenshots, saved everything, filed it like evidence. For the first time in weeks, I felt in control. The heartbreak was over. What came next would be strategy. I stared at the phone screen until the letters blurred together. There it was. Every lie disguised as affection. Every message dripping with the kind of intimacy that used to be mine. I thought I'd feel rage, but instead I felt relief. At least the truth had a face now, and it wasn't pretending to love me. I took a long breath, the kind that tastes like smoke and clarity. He'd built a world of secrets, and now it was finally collapsing in my hands. Somewhere between heartbreak and planning, I realized I wasn't powerless. I'd been quiet for years, letting peace take the place of pride. But this time, silence wasn't submission. It was preparation. I could see the path forming in front of me, clean and deliberate. Jason had taught me many things, but the most valuable lesson came from his betrayal: how to act without being suspected. When he came home that night, I greeted him like nothing had changed. Dinner on the table, soft smile, normalcy, perfectly rehearsed. He kissed my cheek, and I almost laughed at how easy it was for him to pretend. But that was fine. I could play that game too, only better. Because while he lied to protect his secret, I'd lie to build his downfall. And he'd never see it coming. 2 days later, Jason mentioned a company dinner, the kind of event where partners were better off staying home. His voice was casual, but I caught that flicker in his eyes. Lydia would be there. I nodded, pretending not to notice. "Have fun," I said, pressing a kiss to his cheek like the perfect wife. That night, I opened my laptop and edited the birthday video, stitching it together with their messages. His laughter, her words, the kiss. The truth, finally unwrapped. When the night of the dinner arrived, I dressed carefully. Not for him. For me. Black dress, simple jewelry, the calm armor of a woman who'd already made peace with her pain. As I drove to the venue, my hands didn't tremble. My pulse was steady, like the rhythm of a plan long rehearsed. The city lights passed by like a silent audience, and for once I felt like the one directing the show. The restaurant buzzed with laughter when I walked in. Dozens of eyes turned toward me, surprise, curiosity, discomfort. Jason froze mid-conversation, his hand resting too close to Lydia's on the table. "Elena," he said, that fake smile glued to his face. "What are you doing here?" I smiled softly. "Oh, I just wanted to surprise you," I said. "I heard your coworkers really love surprises." Before anyone could react, I held up my tablet and walked to the center of the room. My heels clicked against the marble floor. Calm, steady, defiant. "I brought something for you all," I said, smiling as I connected it to the projector. The birthday video appeared on the screen, the same laughter echoing through the speakers. People smiled at first. They didn't know what was coming, but I did. I'd timed it perfectly. The kiss appeared. The laughter shifted, softer, uncertain. And then, right after it, the texts I'd added began flashing one by one. "Can't stop thinking about your lips today. Meet me in the break room tomorrow." Gasps rippled through the tables. Lydia's hand flew to her mouth and Jason went completely still. His face turned white, and for once, he didn't have words to save him. Only silence, the kind that burns louder than shouting. He whispered, "Elena, please." But I didn't even look at him. "You wanted to show affection in public," I said, my voice smooth and clear. "I just made sure everyone saw how much." I picked up a glass of champagne from a nearby table, letting the bubbles catch the light. "To Lydia and Jason," I said, raising it slightly. "May they enjoy each other as much as they enjoyed humiliating me." And with that, I left. Calm, intact, radiant. The night air hit my face the moment I stepped outside, cool and clean, like the universe had just exhaled with me. I didn't rush to the car. I walked slowly, savoring every second of silence after the chaos I'd left behind. For once, I didn't feel small. I didn't feel broken. I felt free. The weight that had sat in my chest for weeks lifted as if the truth itself had taken my side. Revenge wasn't supposed to feel peaceful, but somehow it did. When I reached the parking lot, I caught my reflection in the car window. My makeup was perfect, my posture straight, my eyes clear. That woman staring back at me wasn't the same one who'd watched that video days ago. She was sharper now, quieter, more dangerous in her calm. Inside the restaurant, I could still hear voices, the fallout beginning, but that part wasn't mine to manage anymore. I'd already delivered my final line. As I drove away, city lights flickered across the windshield like applause. My hands didn't shake. They rested steady on the wheel. I didn't need to look back. Everything that had once tied me to him was already burning behind me. Let Jason explain himself. Let Lydia save face. Their show was over. Mine had just begun, and this time I'd be writing every scene myself. The next morning, the house felt emptier, quieter, like it was waiting for something that would never return. Jason didn't come home that night. When he finally walked in at dawn, his tie was gone, his face hollow. He didn't say a word. He didn't have to. The silence said enough. By noon, I knew what had happened. HR had called him in. Lydia's husband had found out. And suddenly, Jason's office family wasn't so fond of him anymore. I watched him pace the kitchen, muttering about misunderstandings, damage control, and how it all got blown out of proportion. The irony almost made me laugh. I'd spent years watching him protect his image while letting our marriage rot quietly behind the curtains. Now the curtains were open, and the world was watching. He didn't even look at me, just buried his face in his hands. "They're suspending me," he whispered. "For inappropriate conduct." I nodded slowly, pretending to process it. But the truth was, I'd already moved beyond him. That job, that house, that version of us. They all felt like memories from another life. He looked so small sitting there, the man who once controlled every conversation. And for the first time, I didn't see my husband. I saw a stranger begging for sympathy from the person he'd betrayed. I turned away before pity could ruin my satisfaction. When I came back later that day, his car was gone. I didn't bother to ask where. On the kitchen counter sat a note from him, short, desperate, and meaningless. I didn't read past the first line. Instead, I set down my own letter beside it, one I'd written before dawn. "You celebrated your birthday with her. Consider this my gift. Freedom. Don't waste it." I left my wedding ring on top, catching the morning light like something finally released. Packing didn't take long. I'd already detached weeks before my hands ever touched the suitcase. Each folded shirt, each pair of shoes felt like a piece of a life I was ready to outgrow. I looked around the bedroom one last time, the same walls that had heard laughter, lies, and quiet tears. They didn't echo back. They just stood there, hollow and clean, like they were ready for someone else's story. I smiled faintly. Maybe they were. I moved into a small apartment across town. Nothing fancy, but mine. The air smelled new, untouched, free of him. I changed my phone number, blocked his messages, and bought a plant I named Peace. For the first time in months, I slept through the night. No dreams, no replayed conversations, just stillness. It's funny. When betrayal ends, it doesn't explode. It dissolves quietly, the way dawn erases the night. Weeks passed, and word spread fast, faster than apologies ever could. Lydia filed for divorce, her husband apparently less forgiving than I'd been. Jason tried calling from a new number once, then again, and finally stopped when his messages bounced back. I didn't block him out of anger. I blocked him because there was nothing left to say. He had chosen his kind of happiness, and I had finally chosen mine. Peace. Sophie invited me for coffee one morning. The cafe smelled like cinnamon and new beginnings. She looked at me over her cup, half in awe, half in disbelief. "You really did it," she said. I smiled, stirring my coffee slowly. "I didn't ruin his life," I told her. "He just got caught celebrating it the wrong way." She laughed, that nervous kind of laugh people give when they're not sure whether to admire you or fear you. On my way home, I passed a flower shop and bought myself a single white rose. It wasn't about forgiveness, it was about closure, the kind you give yourself when no one else can. That night, as I placed it in a glass jar by my window, I realized something simple but profound. Revenge hadn't changed me. It had revealed me. The woman I saw in that reflection wasn't angry anymore. She was awake. Months later, my phone buzzed with a message request. Jason. I didn't open it. Whatever he had to say belonged to a version of me that no longer existed. Instead, I silenced the notification and placed the phone face down on the counter. There was no anger, no ache, just stillness. It's strange how peace feels heavier than pain at first, like your heart doesn't quite know what to do with the quiet. Life moved forward gently, without the drama I'd once lived in. I started dating someone new, Mark. Kind eyes, patient voice, no shadows in his words. He didn't try to fix my past, he just made space for my present. On my birthday morning, he woke me with breakfast in bed. Pancakes, strawberries, a single candle flickering softly between us. "Make a wish," he said. I smiled and whispered, "Already did." As the candle went out, I felt something lift. Not loss, not regret, but renewal. The kind that comes from surviving yourself. I didn't need grand revenge or applause. I'd already won the moment I stopped waiting for him to change. My life wasn't a story of betrayal anymore. It was a story of rebirth. His birthday had exposed my heartbreak. Mine celebrated my return to life.